Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'll be recording a video about the 10 things I wish I knew before I went to medical school. Now obviously being in the fourth year of medical school or having completed my fourth year of medical school, there are a lot of things that, looking back that I wish I knew in first year, that I wish I could have told myself. And this is more of a personal video, just based off of my experiences. I understand that other people may have different experiences, may have different opinions, and that's okay. I mean, we all have sort of individual experiences, and that's really the beauty of life and things like that. But without further ado, let's get into the list. So the first thing that I wish that I really knew in first year was the things you do in September matter in June. Now, what I mean by this is obviously when you're a fresher, when you start at university, it's really tempting to go out every day, meet new people, go to a bunch of different societies, sports, try out new things, and that's absolutely fantastic. But that should not come at the expense of obviously your own academic progression. The stuff that you do in September to Christmas and that sort of start period is so important on getting off on a good start. And that stuff's going to matter when it comes to an exam season in May, June, and July, or even earlier than that actually for some universities. But I mean, the stuff you do matters, and the stuff you don't do also really matters. I'm not saying just stay in your room all day and just toil away working 24/7. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that maybe you don't go out on 7 nights out a week. Maybe you just go out on one over the weekend, or maybe that gets reduced down to one every 2 weeks, or one every month, something like that. But I know it's tempting because medicine's tougher than other courses, and other courses might have more free time on their hands. But obviously, stuff you do in September matters in June. The second point is a point that I think I learned a bit later on, but it's still very important, and it might contradict. It might seem like it contradicts what I just said, but if you'd allow me to explain, second point is do not try and learn absolutely every single detail of every single condition. Now, when I say that, what I'm not saying is don't learn the first line management, or don't learn the basic pathophysiology, or don't learn the mechanism of action of a drug. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is maybe if you're going into consultant level research articles to try and find the seventh line management, or the really intricate pathophysiology that's not even proven, that's theorized, maybe that's doing a little bit too much. And medicine's so vast and it's always changing. I mean recently, the NICE guidelines for I think diabetes changed less than a month before our exams, which was wonderful. But anyways, I think trying to learn everything it's a noble task, but it's ridiculous in trying to execute because it's absolutely impossible. Learn what you need to learn, obviously, and the high yield stuff. Make sure that's at the really forefront of your mind, and maybe some of the smaller things. Maybe you just skim over it once in a textbook, and you're not spending hours and hours and hours clawing for maybe one or two extra marks. That's really not worth it. You still have a life. Things such as your general hobbies, like clubs, friends, all that's really important. Learning 100% of everything may seem like the thing to do, and is what the thing that people would be used to, coming out of A levels, GCSEs, and things like that. But it's important that you're not going too deep into things. Obviously, that will happen later on, and much later on in your career. But it's important that in year one, get a good understanding of the basics, and really don't try and beat yourself up for not knowing the seventh line management of Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease or something like that. Um, the third point is one thing that I know a lot of medical students, including myself, struggle with is passing is desired, understanding is required. The eventual goal is for you to become a doctor, obviously. And that requires passing your exams, obviously. But just studying to pass a multiple choice exam is not worth it at all. Understanding a concept is so much more important. Obviously, when you're cramming near the end, where you're really trying to ramp up the exams, the sort of exam preparation, just doing like past paper questions on things such as PASMED or QuesMed is really useful. But just doing that to learn, you're not going to understand the underlying concepts and you're not going to be able to problem solve for yourself. And this is something I realized when I went into year 3, where I realized, yes, I had a lot of the sort of the points where I could, on a question in a multiple choice exam, pick the right answer more often than not. But the understanding wasn't yet, fully linked together. And I think making that link is really important. Number 4, point number 4, kind of leads on from that. Don't worry if stuff doesn't click until placement. There are a lot of things I think that obviously, beforehand, the basics you do want a really good understanding on, but there were some conditions or some, nuances of history taking or clinical examinations that didn't really become prominent until I went into my first clinical placement year, which was third year. And I feel like it's really important to understand things, but in year 1 and 2, you just get an overload of new information. It's a completely new environment, just socially, completely new learning style, like everything like that. So it's important to remember that, don't worry if not everything fully clicks until placement. And obviously, I know in year 1 and 2, you have, days at GP, days in the hospital, and those days are really important to try and utilize some of those skills. I know a lot of people do enjoy those days for those reasons, to be able to, use those skills actually in a real world setting with a real world patient and see how, qualified doctors and clinicians and GPs react to certain situations or handle certain situations. I think that's really important. Almost halfway there. Number 5 is burnout doesn't happen overnight. I realized this in year 2. Burnout isn't just one big day of studying and then you're burnt out for the next week or so. That's not how burnout works. It's a slow sort of degradation of your ability to work at a top level. And I had quite a few struggles with burnout and things like that, where I genuinely had to take a couple of days to reset. My best advice against burnout is just make sure you're doing things that it seems stupid, but make sure you're doing things that you like doing. Make sure you do things that you like doing. But make sure that you do things that you like doing, on a daily basis. For example, I love, as you may know, I love talking about Man United. I love playing football, I love playing baseball, I love playing basketball, and just doing those things daily, making time, making space for those things is really important. And also just general things such as eating the right type of food, not eating too much junk food or meal deals or ready meals. I know it's tempting when you're in university, but it's important that you eat good food as well. The best way to actually deal with burnout that I found is just to take a day off. Just take a reset day. Your brain is all muddled and not in the right space. All right, take a day. Take a day. Even if it's during, a really busy spell, just take a day. It's going to be so much better. You're going to feel so much more refreshed. And it's excellent to just take a day if you feel that burnout, because it's essential to keep on top of your stuff and constantly being at the level where you're just surviving, just about surviving every day. That's no way to live. Number six, this is something I realized actually during my clinical placement years. Number six is don't go into medical school with a specialty in mind. It's okay to know your preferences. For example, I went into medical school with an interest, with a bit more of an interest in orthopedics because I like sports. I like talking about sports. I like baseball. I mean, I regularly watch, obviously, the Premier League. I'll sometimes watch the Bundesliga, La Liga. I watch Major League Baseball. I watch American football, the NFL. I watch basketball, the NBA. I even watch some Korean baseball and things like that. So I had a bit of an interest in orthopedics, and I went into medical school thinking, oh, well, orthopedics is the one for me. But as I sort of progressed through, I realized, oh, actually, this topic's, I actually enjoy this topic more, or this topic's more suited for, where I want to be long term. And and it's just so important to not go in with a preconception because I figured if when people start to do that, they start to go, oh, I really like this, but I'm not gonna try, like, I'm not gonna participate as much as I would because this isn't the specialty that I'm gonna choose. Well, you don't know what specialty you're gonna choose. I mean, I don't even know still what specialty I'm gonna choose. Obviously, I have interests, but closing those doors off early is, I think, quite negative and quite detrimental. Having an open mind, going into things and wanting to experience different things is one, how you learn, two, how, it helps you figure out what you actually want to do. Reading things and hearing about things is different from actually experiencing them in person. Number seven is one of my favorite ones. Well, actually, one of my least favorite ones to experience, but one of my favorite ones to talk about. I'd like to use a quote from, I'm not sure if any of you watched Game of Thrones, but this is in, I think, Game of Thrones season 5. I think it's in Game of Thrones season 5. It's either in season 5 or 6. It's where, spoiler alert, although Game of Thrones has been out for a while, spoiler alert, when Jon Snow gets stabbed by the members of the Night's Watch in Castle Black and he gets resurrected, Jon Snow says, I failed. Well, because he did fail. And then Davos, well, actually Sir Davos Seaworth, says to Jon Snow, good, now go fail again. And I feel like that is one of the most important things to know, and one of the most important things that I wish I knew before I went into medical school. It's, okay, you failed. Good. Now go out there and fail again. And that's not me actively encouraging failing. I mean, obviously. But then what that quote is trying to say is, hey, look, you tried. Like, that's what matters. Like, everybody fails. Everybody fails. And being scared to try and not trying at all is so much worse than trying and failing. Because you learn from failure. I mean, think about how many times you hear athletes. I mean, if any of you watch Formula One, Niki Lauda, one of the greatest Formula One drivers and greatest people in Formula One ever. If any of you watch the movie Rush, that's Niki Lauda. But Niki Lauda said in the speech, he learned more from failure than he did from winning, and I think that's so true for me as well. You learn so much more from failing than just meaningless victories. That doesn't mean fail your exam. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is don't be scared to try. And if you do, mess something up, or maybe during like a clinical skills session with an SP, maybe you feel like you bomb a scenario. All right, go home, make yourself a cup of tea from Fortnum and Mason, hopefully, and and just reflect on what you did, what you can do next time, and do that. I think one of my most memorable moments in med school was when I absolutely bombed a scenario. It was with a simulated patient, so not a real patient. It was with a simulated patient. I think it was a psychiatric history, and I absolutely bombed it. I absolutely messed it up like completely. It was probably one of the worst consultations I'd ever done. And I think a year later we had another practice session where they were like, where it was during a communication skills masterclass where they said, if you were to, repeat one scenario, which scenario would you repeat? And I could have said any scenario, and I could have said an easy scenario and just pretended to get through with it. But I said, I want to do a psychiatric history because I want to try and redeem myself. And honestly, it wasn't the perfect history, but I think I had a huge improvement, huge confidence boost just after doing that because it's just essential to always have, always track your progress and always improve. And it's okay to fail. No, it's okay, and just try again. Sorry about that. That was a bit of a long one. Number 8. This is another quote, and this is a quote from one of my favourite characters in fiction, although Sir Davos is also one of my favourites. This is from Samwise Gamgee, as a lot of you may know who he is. And he said, "It's the job that's never started that takes longest to finish." And that's definitely true. When you get into clinical placement years, you have portfolios, different like tasks, sign-offs you need maybe to do a couple of venipunctures, couple of cannulas, maybe a catheter, maybe some ABGs, VBGs, things like that. And it's important to just get those done early. The most time you'll have is in like when you're at med school is like September, October, December, because not a lot of the big projects are really started up yet. A lot of our sort of written assignments come in, after the Christmas period. So when you have time, you got to do what you need to do. And also number 9, a bit of a pun here. Rest is the best medicine, and that is definitely true. People still, I mean, you're still a person. I mean, you can't be a robot. I mean, unless your name is Erling Haaland, I doubt anybody is a robot, or Arnold Schwarzenegger, because he is the Terminator. Anyways, we're getting off track. That is my bad. But rest is the best medicine. Make sure you rest. Make sure that is good rest as well. I know so many people who say, "Oh, I'm going to take the day off, but let me just do that, and let me just do that, and let me just do. Oh, wait, I feel guilty, so let me just do that." And then before they know it, it's 6, 7 p.m. I just had to use those two numbers, didn't I? I don't know why I chose those two numbers, and I'm not doing it. I'm not doing the motion. But rest is definitely required. Take an hour, after you get back from class. Doesn't mean you have to, jump straight into work again. Take an hour or two, just relax. You've been working for a little bit. Just take a little break. That doesn't mean take a 5-hour gaming break. 20 minutes. Chuck on some highlights of the game from the day before. Pop on the United stand. Maybe do a bit of reading, do a bit of Lego. I don't know. Just do what you like. And rest is really important because it helps you perform at the top level more consistently. And number 10 is probably something people need to hear more often, including myself, is that if you do get into med school, you deserve to be there. You earned a place, you worked hard for it, you deserve to be there. And it's something that I feel like people should tell themselves every day. You deserve to be there. Because you do. You worked hard for it. And, I know a lot of people do get imposter syndrome when in hospital. You're surrounded by consultants, registrars, specialists, and, STs, and I mean, even to a third year myself, I would, F1 seemed like years away, or light years ahead. But it's important to know you deserve to be there. Everyone has been in your position before, and most people have made it all the way up the food chain. So you deserve to be there. I think that's mostly it for this video. It's a little bit of a longer video, but I hope it's been helpful to some people. I mean, I wish I had a time machine to go tell myself to give myself this list and make sure that I abide by it, because I assure you I did not abide by all these rules. I mean, I still don't abide by all these rules. Rest is the best medicine. Yeah, as if I was resting during exam season, and yeah, as if I listened to the burnout thing. But just trying to work on these things every day is really important. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.